Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Today is Tuesday, August 20th, and the Bitcoin is at 58,900. So we still haven't broken out of that narrow channel between 55 and 65,000 that we've been at for months now. But I do think help is on the way. We'll talk about that. And without further ado, so just to give you a heads up, what we're going to do in this live, I'm going to tell you about a asset or assets that are relatively easy to make money with, and other asset that is very hard to make money with. And we'll be doing um, a deep dive into a company. So without further ado, let's get started. Thank you, Lubna, for the like. If you do like these lives, then make sure to leave a like. I really appreciate that. And as always, this is not financial advice, just the musings of myself. So be sure to do your own due diligence before making any investing decisions. Wa alaikum salam, Chocolate Wallah. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Zuhair. All right. If you're not a member yet, be sure to become a PIF member. Link to do so is in the description. We have premium membership, where we just share our picks and our portfolio trades, move for move, and we provide earnings updates on our portfolio companies as well as watchlist companies, buy below and sell above prices for watchlist companies as well. With Elite, we not just give members fish, we teach them how to fish. And so there's a course as part of that membership, and that course is expanding, inshallah. All right, so if we look at gold, gold is historically one of the easiest ways to earn money. You just hold on to it for as long as you possibly can. Now, the modern equivalent of gold, at least as per Bitcoin enthusiasts, is Bitcoin. But it continues to perform rather well, especially if you're comparing it to cash, for example. So banks, reserve managers, that is, are stacking gold at record rates, and that's for good reason. So if you look at the gold versus dollar, in the last 5 years, gold has appreciated. That's that blue line on the graph. It has appreciated close to 70%. Whereas with a basket of 5 other major currencies, you can see it's basically flat. That is, the dollar is flat compared to that. Compared to the euro, again, it's flat. And if you held in yen, then you lost close to 40% of your purchasing power over the last 5 years when compared to holding the dollar. So the most profitable course of action was holding gold amongst these different options. Obviously, holding Bitcoin was more profitable. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, for those who studied finance and perhaps taken a few investment courses, the traditional 60-40 portfolio, which put 60% of the portfolio in stocks, 40% in bonds, it turns out that this portfolio would have been outperformed if you replaced bonds with gold. So, for the halal-conscious investor who may be thinking, oh, well, I can't follow the 60-40 portfolio because I can't invest in bonds, they're interest-bearing debt. Well, actually, if you invested in gold instead of bonds, you would have turned out ahead. So you can see returns here. 9.93 for stocks, gold, 60-40 portfolio versus 9.73. And this is for the period 1973 to 2024. Now, I think that you'll do even better if you were to replace gold with Bitcoin, for example. Now, the volatility for the gold portfolio was higher. Sharp ratio was a bit lower, but very comparable. And the bottom line for many investors are their returns, and the stocks gold portfolio did outperform. And gold bars today, they've reached $1 million in price. So price of one gold bar, $1 million. And as I'll say, my prediction is that gold bars today Bitcoin tomorrow. So we will get a point in the future where one Bitcoin is $1 million, and perhaps myself or someone else on YouTube will be sharing a slide telling their uh, viewers that, hey, fun fact, Bitcoin has reached $1 million. So I think the moral of this is that there's still a lot to go with Bitcoin in terms of appreciation if you have some money that you can set aside and you're not worried about volatility and you can hold that money for long enough. Now, if we look at the markets, I do want to give you guys a heads up about something. So we had 8 days of upward movement for the S&P, which was a record for the year. Today we might not have that. We'll see. But something to keep in mind or watch out for. The last 2 weeks of September have typically been the toughest weeks for markets. So, if we get, as many are expecting, a rally in these next few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, then I think it would behoove investors, if they're sitting on a lot of profits, to maybe take some profits before that really tough end of September period, at least historically. Obviously, Allahu Alam, but historically, that has been the second half of September has been a tough period of time. So now the CEO of BitMEX has made a prediction that the U.S. Treasury is going to pump close to $1 trillion in liquidity um, between now and the end of the year into the markets, which will send Bitcoin's price to $1 million. And why not? I mean, we're creating money out of nothing. We're already up to our eyeballs in debt. So why not add another 1 trillion in order to make sure that the people that appointed you, in this case, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, the people that appointed her, stay in office. Unfortunately, this is where we are. Now, this does mean in the near term, if this pans out, that asset prices are going to appreciate in a big way. So something to keep an eye out for. And fun fact, which is not fun at all if you don't have Bitcoin, and that is in 2010, there was a website that was giving out 5 Bitcoin per visitor for free. So you just have to visit the website and you get 5 Bitcoin, which is worth $300,000 today. So this speaks to the importance of being early on a specific trend. So this was my example today of an easy way, I think, an easy way to make money. And now I'm going to tell you about a really hard way to make money. And this comes from a thread on X from the user AJ. And he does some really, I think, has some solid insights into electric vehicle companies. So Xpeng reported their earnings recently, and he's made some pretty astute observations, I think, which speak to the difficulty of earning money in the car business, specifically in the EV business. So if you look at Xpeng's revenue, Xpeng's revenue has increased dramatically, so 60% year over year, and 24% compared to last quarter, which is good news if you're an Xpeng investor. However, it's important to dig a little deeper. So as we saw yesterday with the valuation, for the example, between we were comparing GM and Tesla. That's not enough. You should have a checklist of things that you're looking at. So revenue, growth in revenue, that's great. But looking at that and stopping is, I think, not the way to go. If you look at the average selling price, it dropped 11% quarter over quarter. We went from $35,000 for the average unit sold to 31,000, but that's fine considering that the revenue increased. So I'm fine with that. This is not a red flag in any way. They're selling more affordable cars, and the fact of the matter is the top line for them is growing. That's great. However, the and also adding to the good news is that the cheaper model has actually corresponded with a reduction in vehicle production costs. They're not. So the top line margins aren't really compressing, which is great. Now, net, this has helped Xpeng to deliver the strongest vehicle gross profit in 6 quarters at 2,000 per vehicle. So the gross profit, so top line, so total revenues minus cost of goods sold is $2,000, per vehicle sold, and that's a modest 3.8% jump quarter over quarter. So it was slightly below 2,000. Now it's above 2,000. Overall gross profit was up 35% quarter over quarter to 157 million after losing 32 million in last year's second quarter. So still, we're talking about good things here. Now, again, we're talking about overall profit. We're not talking about net. So we're still at the top of the income statement. So this is the highest gross profit ever, exactly in 4 years or 16 quarters, after Xpeng generated the first gross profit. Now, this is very profound. So they've actually reached gross profit 4 years ago, and their highest gross profit was achieved today. However, this is actually quite ominous for electric vehicle manufacturers, for Xpeng and for other electric vehicle manufacturers, Rivian, Lucid, others. And the reason why it's ominous is because they've been in gross profit positive territory for 4 years now. And as we're about to see, they still haven't generated a net profit. So if you look at gross margins, it jumped to a new high of 14%. However, this is still too low to cover operating expenses. They're still not covering expenses. They're still burning money. It's still a net cash consuming operation. So as a result of the still low gross profitability, Xpeng continues to make losses on an operating basis, which includes operating expenses and sales, general, and administrative expenses. Although Xpeng's 48% year-over-year loss reduction is encouraging, the getting to break even has proven extremely difficult. Again, they've been operating at a gross profit for 4 years now, and they still can't get to a net profit. So after accounting for operating expenses, they still haven't gotten that bottom line to a positive number. So the operating profit is still, we're looking at a negative 222 million. That's how much they're burning every quarter. Now, Xpeng's operating margin improved, but at negative 19.8%, Xpeng continues to lose 20 cents basically on every dollar. So in order for it to generate $1 in revenue, Xpeng spends $1.2. So this is a really hard way to earn money. Being in the EV business, being in the auto business generally is really tough. Being in the EV business is especially tough. And as I showed you guys yesterday, no one is doing it profitably. If we're talking about pure EVs, no one is doing this profitably except for Tesla. BYD is profitable, but they rely a lot on hybrids. They sell a lot of hybrids. The only pure play EV company that is profitable at that bottom line is Tesla. So Xpeng's operating losses remain stuck at the 180 to 190 million mark. Again, Rivian investors should take note of this. So, if you're invested in any EV company, you should be looking at this and you should be terrified. For 4 years now, they aren't able, even though the gross profit is positive, for 4 years, they haven't been able to generate a net positive income. Pre-tax margin improved to negative 16.6%. Again, less negative than operating margin, thanks to some interest income on cash balances. Xpeng does not provide cash flow statements. That's not good. This is a red flag. Without cash flow statement, we can't precisely calculate free cash flow. However, by looking at Xpeng's balance sheet, we can see there was significant cash burn. So they were at 5.7 billion at the end of Q1. Now they're at 5.1 billion at the end of Q2. So they've burned through a bunch of cash. Although Xpeng's performance has improved, the long and drawn-out nature of performance improvements, despite scale increase, demonstrate the significant difficulty to achieve operational success even long after gross profitability has been achieved. This is something that other EV companies and EV company investors really need to look long and hard into, and I think it behooves them to actually question, is this the right business to even be invested in? Is this the right business is this the easy way to make money? As I always say, there are easy ways to make money. There are hard ways to make money. And it makes a lot more sense to pursue those businesses that are that are pursuing easy ways to make money, and not the ones that are extremely hard. So with that, let's take questions. If you like these types of breakdowns, become an elite member. We'll be doing them regularly, inshallah, for different assets. Wasim Arwas has mentioned fourth like. That's great. Thank you. Thanks, Lubna. It's my pleasure. Chocolate says valuable musings. I appreciate that. Abdullah says, like your shirt. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's really light and airy and good for summer. Any thoughts on why Dogecoin is stuck? Well, Dogecoin is stuck, as is Bitcoin, as is a lot of crypto. I think if we do see a liquidity injection, on the tune of, or at the scale that we are expecting, all of these assets are going to fly. A million or 100K. So the end of year prediction for that particular person, the BitMEX CEO, for Bitcoin would be 100K, but I do think it will reach a million after that. Abdullah says all problems because of riba. Yeah, I think that's a major contributor here. Amir says great video. From where do you get your Bitcoin charts? So I think X has a wealth of information. So X is a good source. TradingView is another good source. There are other services like BitBo and what's it called? Services specific to Bitcoin and like on-chain activity. So they're just a Google search away. Rashad says, what do you think about the extra 9% tariff on Chinese EV? I'm generally not a fan of tariffs, but I think that, China is the best vehicle manufacturer on earth. They have the most competitive companies on earth. And I think, in a free market, basically none of the American companies would survive unless they are, ultra high end and, or Tesla. So, yeah, I think that's a tariff out of necessity. Uh, Excuse me. Other than buying with cash up front, what would you suggest the best way to buy cars nowadays? Um, I don't know of halal financing for vehicles. Is it logical for someone at the wealth building phase to put money into dividend portfolio? Yeah, I think you have to ask yourself, what your tolerance is for risk and losses. Obviously, as a PIF member, the growth portfolio, emerging growth, crypto, a lot more volatility there. And some people can't stomach that. So if that's your personality, then maybe just park in dividend and be done. Hamed Saad says, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. PLL at this price, is it a good price to buy? So if you have any like specific positioning questions, price questions, those are for PIF members, not for a public forum. You can go to our watch list if you are a PIF member and see the prices that are up to date regarding buy below and sell above. What are some of the metrics one can look at to determine success of layer one cryptocurrencies such as Solana? Well, look at adoption, look at usage. Ultimately, and this is what you really want to impart on your children as well. You want to impart on them the following idea, which is that they need to think about how do they create value, not how do they earn money. So focus your mind and focus the mind of your loved ones, the ones that you care about, their prosperity. Focus on creating value, and then the money comes from that. But the first thing you want to ask is, how can I create value? If you want to be well off, if you want to live a comfortable life, always be asking yourself, how can I be useful to others? Now, in terms of when you're analyzing an asset, or layer one asset, for example, you want to ask yourself, how much benefit, how much value is it providing people? And to do that, you can look at how many people are using it and how many transactions per day are they using it for. And that is a proxy for how much value people are using it, or how much value people are getting from it. Are you going to be buying more Bitcoin soon? Probably, we'll see. How to do short selling? Um, so short selling, so how to do short selling in a halal way? So I think short selling fundamentally is haram, not comfortable with it, but there may be other ways that one can benefit from the decline in an asset's price in a halal way. And perhaps we'll talk about that in our elite membership, specifically as it relates to puts and how to deal with them in a halal way. All right. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Leave a like. Thank you for those who have already left a like. I really appreciate it. And if there are any topics that you'd like me to dive into in a future live, then do leave those in the comments. Until next time, make sure to take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon you all.